You are listening to episode number 91 of the Everything Ham Radio podcast. In today's episode, we have Ian Kahn back with us as a special guest host, and we are talking about the 2017 Christmas wish list. So stick around, y'all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Everything Ham Radio podcast. My name is Curtis. My call sign is Kilo 5 Charlie Lima Mike, and I am your host for this episode. We actually have a guest host in this episode. Everybody, please welcome back Ian, back as a special guest.
Hello everybody. Hi Curtis, this is Ian, Kilo Mike for India Kilo. So thanks for having me back, Curtis. That's great. It's great to be back.
Yeah, this is like your 5P. You're like an official guest, semi-permanent guest host here.
I'm moving up in the universe.
Yeah, there you go.
My status goes from, hey, this guy's willing to come on and blabber for a couple hours about PSK31 to, hey, I know I can call him. He's a sucker. He'll come do this.
Yeah. So, but
it's great to be back. I've said it before. I love coming on and doing this. I have a great time with it. So thank you for having me back again.
Yeah, well, hopefully in the coming year it'll be a little bit more often, y'all. So stick around for the new year. Maybe we'll have a semi-permanent guest host here. But anyways, let's get on with it. You can find the show notes of today's episode, and there is a lot of information in it in the show notes this time, y'all. So make sure you check that out. You can find that at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/91. That's the number 91. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Everything Ham Radio. And also I have the page, not as active, but you can still find it. And that's at facebook.com/Everything Ham Radio. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/Everything Ham Radio. And I'm on Twitter at K5CLM. And Ian, where can they find you at?
Well, email is Kilo Mike for India Kilo at ARRL.net is the best email address. And I am on Facebook, just Ian Kahn on Facebook, and let's see, Twitter is at Ian Kahn 1. Email, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's it. I'm not as active on some of the social media sites as some of the other. I guess I'm going to have to become more active.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I got to have all these media outlets for people to follow me on.
Right. So today we're going to do a Christmas wish list, if you will. But before we get on to that, I got a couple shout-outs that I got to do. I got an email this past weekend from a gentleman by the name of Eric Harrison. Eric sent me this email this past weekend, and he told me that he passed his technician class, and it was awesome. And in his email, he wrote,
"Congratulations, Eric!
Yeah,
way to go.
Absolutely." In his email, he says, quote, "Thanks for making the podcast. Between it and the no-nonsense study guide, I'm convinced that's what made it possible." So, Dan, if you're listening, there you go. There's some kudos to you, and thank you for listening to this podcast. I also got another email. If you remember last episode where we did the WhisperNet, we did that because of an email that I got from Pat Hens. Now, Pat Hens was talking to me, and he said he was new to the ham world, and he was interested in becoming a general because he heard about this thing called WhisperNet, and he wanted to know a little bit about it. So I got a hold of good grief, the name slips my mind. The host of the Field Radio podcast. I hate it when that happens. And he was nice enough to come over and talk to us about it. And if you go back to the last episode number 90, you can listen to it. Well, I got an email from him last night. This was on Sunday night, so this is Monday, y'all. I got an email from him yesterday, and he says that, quick update, I passed my tech and my general this past weekend. So congratulations, Pat. That is awesome that you passed both of them at the same time. He also
Congratulations, Pat.
Yeah. He says that he missed the extra by 3 questions. Can you believe that, y'all? A 50-question test, and he missed it by 3. But he also says that he wouldn't have felt that he earned it if he would have passed it since he didn't study for it. The math and the circuit RF theory questions were no problem, but he just had to make guess on the procedure and regulations. You know, to me, and I may get boogered on this by y'all, so if y'all don't feel this way, you know, I'm sorry, but to me, the amateur radio hobby is a never-ending learning experience. You know, I can guarantee you that if I go back and take the any of the class tests, I probably wouldn't be able to pass it right now without going back and studying. So Pat,
I promise you, I couldn't pass the tech exam today without studying it.
Oh, I know.
No question about it.
You know, that's actually one of the reasons that I started this blog. Well, yeah, I guess it was a blog. When 3+ years ago when I started it, that was the reason that I started it, because I was giving a test one day and I was reading through the questions while everybody was taking them. I'm like, okay, that one, and I actually took the test and I failed it miserably. And I've been a ham at the time for 19 years, and I failed it with like a 50% or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn a little bit more about this hobby other than just talking on the local repeaters. So I started the blog, and then I got a little bit more into it and started the podcast, and here we are coming up on 2 years on doing this podcast, almost 100 episodes. So yeah, so Pat, don't feel bad if you would have passed it, because half the stuff that's on the test you're never going to use again. You're going to forget about. You're going to have to relearn, and so if you passed it, then that would be awesome, and you can learn from then. But since you didn't pass it,
I don't want to think about it as relearning it. You learn it deeper, more deeply.
There you go. That's a good way to think about it.
You have to study and develop deeper appreciation and deeper knowledge base and deeper education. Mm-hmm. And in fact, to that end, I actually appreciated the last episode on WhisperNet. I've got a Raspberry Pi 2B that's been sitting in my drawer for almost 2 years now, and one of these years when I get my round to it, I'm going to turn that into a WhisperNet beacon.
There you go.
And maybe I'll have to make sure I document that and talk about in the last episode you got some of the 10,000 foot view, maybe a little bit of, I've got the Raspberry Pi and I put the latest version of Raspbian on it and downloaded WhisperNet, and here's how I set it all up. And by the way, somebody's got a Raspberry Pi hat, I think, that's a WhisperNet transceiver. So it's like a 40-meter beacon that you set on there, and it gives you, all you need is an antenna. But that's going to be, for me, part of the deeper learning process and building that deeper skill set. And you don't forget and relearn. You just have to dust off the cobwebs and knock off the rust and learn things a little more deeply.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing the tweet that you did after that. That was awesome. What were you transmitting? Like 300 milliwatts or something like that?
That wasn't me.
Oh no, it wasn't you. No, it wasn't you.
I appreciate it, but it wasn't.
That was Jeff. One of the guy that we had. Oh goodness gracious. I don't remember if I've had him on the show or not. I don't think I did. I did a sign for him. I know that. But he was basically in the same predicament that you were. He had this stuff sitting around, and when he heard the episode, he built his little thing or something like that, and he transmitted like 300 milliwatts. And I want to say that he lived somewhere on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, somewhere like that. Anyways, he was transmitting like 300 milliwatts, and he was being heard over in Europe.
Yeah, listen, when the propagation is just right, the QRPP guys, that's the under a watt is QRPP, the extreme low power. I mean, those guys do pretty well when the propagation's right. Mm-hmm. There have been windows. The propagation hasn't been all awful. There have been some pretty decent windows lately. You just have to be around to take advantage of them.
Yeah. I'm really thinking very seriously that I need to extend my Pac-10 Mini to a 40 meter, because I have the 20 meter right now, and I get the little. If you follow, what is it, WA5GOV or something like that, he sends out an hourly band condition report. And it's like, over the past couple days or so, I've been noticing, probably about the last week or so, it's like 40 meters is like constantly open. During the day, during the night, it doesn't matter. But 20 meters, I think maybe I've seen like 3 tweets where 20 meters is like halfway up the bar. And
so I played in the CQ Worldwide phone contest a couple of weekends ago, and did better, I think, collectively on 40 and 80 than I did on 20. Didn't get a whole lot of new ones, but I got a lot of good band fills for countries that I had for, I like putting the wallpaper on the wall. So I've got, DXCC in a couple of different formats and trying to get it on a few other bands. And so the fills were nice. I appreciate contests like that because it's real easy to get band fills, for some of the nicer DX.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 40 and 80 are going to be your money bands here probably for another couple of years. Yeah. Until the cycle turns around and we start heading up again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I went over to my dad's a couple days ago. I guess it was the first. I guess it was what it was, and he pulled me into his back room, into his ham shack, basically, and showed me this radio that was sitting on the counter, and it was I want to say it was a Kenwood TS830. If I believe that's what it was. And some guy up in Fort Worth donated like 5 radios to our club and some antennas and stuff like that. And I mean, there was the 830, there was another one, there was like 2 of the 857s, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And one other, I can't remember what the other one was, but all but one of them, either the finals were out or something, they didn't transmit. But they all powered up and they would receive. So something, I don't know what it was that happened, but 4 of these radios don't transmit. So we have to get them fixed. But he gave them to us. And my club basically voted on, whoever wants it can take the radio, pay to get it fixed, and then donate whatever they want to the club. And that's what and take the radio basically. So, if it takes me $150 to get the finals fixed on this radio, and then say donate $100, $200 or something like that to the club, I'm gonna get me a brand new Kenwood TS830. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, a whole lot better than my little ICOM 730 IC 730 that I have right now. That I'm not even sure if it works. But
the FT857s are good rigs too. I've got one in my car that I use for HF Mobile.
Yeah, my dad had one for quite a while. They are nice little radios. Mm-hmm. So, speaking of nice little radios, let's get into our Christmas wish list. What do you think?
Well, before you do that, I've got a couple other things I want to throw out.
By all means.
Real quick, just take a couple of minutes here. First things first, most important. Let's see, this will come out, Thursday morning? It's Monday night. This will come out Thursday morning. Saturday is Veterans Day. Everybody, go thank a veteran.
Absolutely.
Find a veteran, shake his or her hand, because this country wouldn't be what it is without our men and women in uniform that, we're all sitting safe at home, in our nice warm cozy beds, and being in tents and digging foxholes, and, some of them are dodging guys tossing mortars and shooting bullets at them, excuse me, in some less than pleasant parts of the world. Show a little love. Show them a little bit of appreciation. It doesn't have to be anything big. Thank you from somebody who has served and is there's a saying among the military is a veteran is somebody who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check to the United States government up to and inclusive of value of their life. So that we could all stay free.
Right.
So let's not forget. Let's find a veteran and say thank you, and remember them on Veterans Day while you're enjoying all the football games and the barbecues and cookouts and all that. And then, and don't be. I'll be enjoying the football. Don't worry. But we'll remember to thank the veterans too.
Yeah.
So the other thing that was my a little. I don't know what you want to call that, sentimental note.
Public service announcement.
The last time I was on, back, I think it was in August. I was looking at my my Skype record. I mentioned that my radio club, the North Fulton Amateur Radio League in Roswell, Georgia, has an event that's also this weekend called Ham Jam, and it is a series of. We bring in 3 or 4 prominent speakers in the amateur radio community, and they come speak to the hams here in that come into Atlanta, into the Atlanta area. We actually draw from all over the Southeast for this. It's a big, the ARRL is watching this. It's a big event. Tom Gallagher, NY2RF is going to deliver via Skype the opening kind of address for the event this year. But the big purpose of the event is we sell raffle tickets. And we're raising money for getting youth involved in amateur radio and in STEM activities. And we do it through supporting Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We support a couple of school clubs here in the North Fulton County area. We're very actively involved in a couple of schools. One is a school that one of our club members is a middle grade science teacher, and she uses amateur radio in her curriculum very extensively. She's been to both Teachers Institutes, TI1 and TI2, and has been just a boon for our club and for the community and for the amateur radio. The other school that we're getting involved with is the STEM Science and Technology School in our county, the Fulton Academy of Science and Technology. So we want to get the kids involved. We support scholarships for kids going off to college. We send kids that are going on the Youth DX adventure. It's all about kids and getting them involved, because if we don't get our kids involved in science and technology, we're not going to be able to keep up with the rest of the world. So I'm trying to remember who the speakers are this year. Ward Silver is one of them. He's talking about radio sport. Mr. Schmieder from the West Coast, that's the big DXer, not DXer, DXpedition leader, is going to be talking about DXpeditions. And there are a couple of big ones. Bouvet Island is next year, early next year, and there are a couple other big ones coming up. Mellish Reef is coming up next year, I think. One or two other big DXpeditions. And Dan Henderson, I think, is the third speaker, and he's actually talking about how we get youth involved in radio and how we keep them involved in amateur radio and get them into the STEM, into STEM fields. So if you're in Atlanta, if you're in the Southeast, you are invited to come to Atlanta this Saturday and join us. The event runs, I think, 8 to 1. Raffle tickets for our prizes will be available up to about the midway point Saturday morning of the event at the site of the event. They're available online now, but I believe by the time this publishes, the online sales window will be closed. So you have to come get them on site. Last time I mentioned this, there were a couple of people that talked about they wanted to come and might live stream it. I want to throw, just for consideration out there, the way we get these speakers is we actually have signed contracts with the speakers. And I'm not privy to the contracts. I'm not part of the planning committee. But they may or may not include permission to live stream or video record or otherwise reproduce their speeches or their presentations. So I would caution against doing that and just ask that, if you come, please enjoy. If we have permission to record the presentations by any of the speakers, we will have representatives of the North Fulton Amateur Radio League that are doing the recording, and we'll make it appropriately available. So just throw that out there. But everybody is invited. If you can come, please come and support a worthwhile cause and hear some great speakers and get some a great informative morning out of it to boot. So that's now let's talk about Christmas shopping.
Actually, before we do that, well, this kind of goes along with it, but I wanted to make sure that we get this in here at the front because this is a really, really neat program. And then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the Christmas stuff, the Christmas wish list. But as a lot of you know, MTC Radio is located here in Texas, in Paris, Texas. Really just kind of like a stone throw from me. It's about an hour and a half or so. And they have this program they had, I believe they had it last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. But they're bringing it back now. And it's called Help a Ham program. Last year, or the last time they did it, they helped out 2 hams. One of them got I believe it was like a dual band mobile radio and an antenna, and the other one got like an HF radio, I believe. But this year they're doing it again. And if you're on their mailing list, you already know about it. If you follow them on Facebook, you probably already know about it. But for those of you that don't, basically this is what it is. And I'm just going to read verbatim from the email here, so forgive me if I sound a little monotone. I'll try not to get that way. But it says, let's get together and help someone this year. Do you know a ham that needs a little help? It can be a new ham, an old ham, or a very young ham. We want to help them get some gear for Christmas. First, nominate someone. Please email their call sign, name, address, phone number, and even email address to Christy@maintradingcompany.com. Please be sure to include a little bit about the ham in need and why they need a little help this year. It's perfectly okay to nominate yourself, but we may have to do a little verification, so we may need some references if you are in need yourself. All nominations must be in by December the 16th, 2017. Second, we've created this product on our page. This Help a Ham product only costs $1. You don't have to know anybody that needs help to do this. You can buy one, you can buy 100, whatever. You will get a receipt for it, the purchase, but it probably won't be tax deductible. Around the 20th of December, we will start looking at all the nominations. Our panel of judges, the employees of MTC, will pick a winner. We will total up all the dollars spent, and we will kick in $500. We will donate 100% of the dollars raised minus any credit card or PayPal fees, which should average 3% towards the purchase at dealer cost of any product we sell or can acquire. We will also be in contact with a few manufacturers to see if we can do anything to make this money go as far as possible. We will try to find what kind of gear this lucky ham needs and get him or her for Christmas. We will post the dollar amount raised on our site and our Facebook page, as well as announce the winner. We will also like to announce all of the folks that donate on our page and our Facebook page. Please include your name if you have one. If you would rather remain anonymous, just type this in the order comments. We may change something up here to keep it legal, and also check back option. If you make a purchase, you will not receive anything other than a receipt via email. You may, however, get a warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that you helped a ham for Christmas. And there will be a link in the show notes to the Help a Ham program to find out what it's all about. But basically, with this Help a Ham product, you can, like it says, you can click on it once, buy one, spend $1, buy 100 and get $100 or whatever. Donate that money, and they'll pool the money and pick one or two winners and give that person some equipment that they may need. So if you feel so inclined to do so, head on over to MTC, nominate somebody if you know somebody that's in need. If not, donate a couple dollars or something. You know, it all goes towards helping a ham. And the last time they did it, just kind of like on a personal note here, there's a lady here that lives maybe 5 miles from me. And she just got her license like that year, I believe, and is disabled and can't work, lives basically paycheck to paycheck from her whatever assistance or money that she gets coming in. And all she had was a handheld. And she was the one that won the dual band mobile radio and the antenna. And we went over there and set it up, installed it for her, so now she's on the air. And she's talking all over the place, and she's talking quite regularly. So, it could be somebody close to you. It could be somebody far away that you don't know. But it gives you a nice, warm feeling to help somebody in need, right? So
it's all about the spirit of the season, right?
Absolutely. And helping other hams is what it's all about. That's what this hobby is about, helping other people. So, okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to hear a word from West Mountain Radio. And when we come back, we're going to get on with our Christmas wish list for 2017. Do you have an old-fashioned voltage or amp meter hooked to your station? Are you looking to find something that has more bells and whistles? Check out the West Mountain Radio Power Check. The Power Check has 8 display modes, including voltage, current flow in either direction, wattage, and amp hours, and will measure from 0 to 60 volts with 40 amps continuous load. It is accurate to within 10 millivolts and 10 milliamps. It has a backlit graphics LCD that will display data in digital, analog, and bar graph formats. You can even monitor your battery backup with a programmable gas gauge. The non-volatile memory stores more than 100,000 data points without power. That's nearly 2.5 months worth of data at 1 point per minute. It has a USB computer interface for configuration and data download, and you can program it to sound an alarm for overcurrent, over and under voltage, and amp hours. The software that comes with it allows you to program every aspect of the power check operation, such as data logging rate, display formats, and alarm conditions. You can display current, voltage, wattage, and amp hours in real time. It has an integrated charting software that automatically collects and displays data. All the data can be downloaded and stored for later analysis. If this sounds like something you would really like, make sure you head on over to everythinghamradio.com/WMR and check it out. And if you do, and enter the code EHSUMMER at checkout, you will get $50 off of your purchase. Normally the power check runs $184.95. If you enter the coupon code EHSUMMER, you get a $50 discount, and that comes to $134.95. You can't beat it. The offer expires September 30th, 2017, so make sure you head on over and get yours before the coupon expires. Also, don't forget to pick up your free USB port monitor with your purchase. Again, that's everythinghamradio.com/WMR for more information. Hey y'all, we are back. We are talking with Ian Kahn. He is our special guest co-host this episode. And we're talking about Christmas wish list for 2017. So let's talk about radios first off. And I guess more specifically, let's talk about handheld radios, since they're probably the cheapest and probably what a lot of people tend to buy first thing when they get in the hobby. You know, when I started in this hobby, some 22 years ago or whatever it was now, 95, that was the first thing I bought. I bought a Radio Shack HTX 202, and I bought it from the wasn't from actually Radio Shack itself. It's from the distribution center or the reclamation center or something like that.
The scratch and dent, folks.
Something like that. It was the Tandy outlet, the outlet center. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. And it was like $100, and that was a lot for me at 16.
It was a big chunk of change in the mid '90s.
Yeah, and
even still.
Yeah, exactly. So now now it's like, what do you do when you're first getting in the hobby, and especially for young kids, new parents, somebody that doesn't have a steady job. What do you do to get you a radio? So let's start at the low end, and I might get bucked for this, but probably the cheapest and the most cost-effective way to get in this hobby is the Baofeng radios.
Nobody's going to bust you for that.
But
go talk to your Aries guys. Ask your Aries guys how many of them have Baofeng radios in their Go kits. Because if you drop a Baofeng, it gets rained on. Let's talk about the hurricanes that hit Houston earlier in the summer, and the massive flooding. You're out on a boat and your radio gets dropped overboard or gets knocked over the side of the boat, and you can't go after it. You're out $35-$40.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, there are guys around here in areas that have 2 or 3 Baofengs in their Go kits for just that reason. If something happens to it, it's I'm going to get bucked now for saying this, but it's a throwaway. It's not so expensive
that it hurts to lose.
That it hurts if you lose it, but it gets the job done. It's effective for what it is and for the technology that's in it. And by the way, I want to say this, speaking for me personally. I won't speak for you, Curtis, but anything that I talk about and discuss is not necessarily an endorsement or a criticism of said product. It's simply things that I've read, things that I've heard, and these are in terms of bang for the buck, and you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, those are, don't get a Baofeng because they're not really certified for amateur radio use, and then the ARRL has showed that they're, spurious emissions all over the place. Don't listen to any of that. If you're getting started in the hobby and you want a good, inexpensive radio to get started on, grab a Baofeng. You can get it on Amazon, and it gets the job done for you, and it gets you on the air.
Right.
That's the important thing. You got to get on the air. The hobby's great. There are all kinds of great aspects of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is getting on the air, and
if you don't have a radio, you can't get on the air. So,
got it.
But when I first got mine, I had the the high dollar handheld radios. I had two Kenwood TH-79s.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the radios, but I had two of them, and both of them had the same issue. Both of them, the screen and the keyboard just stopped working one day. And
Oops.
yeah, and it just, it wasn't anything I did. It just stopped working. So I bought another one. I love the radio, so I bought another one. Maybe it's just a bad thing, or a bad thing, or whatever. It wasn't in warranty, and I didn't want to hassle with the, sending it in and paying the repair bills and stuff. And I found another one on eBay, I think. And, of course it was used, but still, I got it. It worked for about 2 years, and then the exact same thing happened. Well,
I got to admit, I did it backwards. I got a mobile rig first. I had a loaner HT from my father-in-law for the first few weeks. But my first rig that was my rig was actually my mobile rig was a Yaesu FT1802M with a 2 meter 70 centimeter 5/8 wave antenna on the back of my car.
Well, there's a discussion on which to get first, handheld or mobile. There's
chicken or the egg.
Exactly. But to me, I will say I recommend people getting a handheld, and here's why. You can always plug an external antenna into it. You can always buy a cheap amplifier. They're like $50 or something like that. So if you get a Baofeng for $45, a $50 amplifier, and a $50 antenna, you're still cheaper than a lot of the dual band radios. So,
oh yeah,
and then you still have the option to take it out, use it when you're walking your dog, or using an emergency event or whatever. You still have that option. So I still say get the handheld first, because you're not limited to your vehicle.
I used to take mine. I eventually got a friend of mine in the club here had a Yaesu VX5R, and that's still my HT when I do community service. But I used to take that thing with me, when my son was really little, and I'd take him to the park. That was the radio I'd take with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be running around and playing, and he'd be on the swings, and he'd be sliding down the sliding board, and I had the HT with me, and if somebody came on the repeater, hey, I could chat with them while I was keeping an eye on my son. Or it's that particular HT has AM broadcast receive, so I could put on the AM radio, or I could listen to the aircraft. That has aircraft band on it, aircraft band receive and weather band receive. So, as you get into the higher end of the HTs, there's some HTs out there that are pretty functional, and you can do a lot more with than just hit your local repeaters and have those commute time conversations with, or do the public service with.
Right.
So.
And now even the Baofengs, they have FM radios on them, so you can listen to the music on it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So specifically, I'm talking. When I first got my Baofeng, I got the UV5R. Cheap little, like $35 or something like that on Amazon. 5 watts, dual band. It worked. Well, today or this week when I was looking for stuff to talk about, I found 2 Baofeng radios on mtcradio.com that I had no idea that they had. One of them is the UV5RM HP, which is a 7 watt handheld, and honestly, that's really unheard of. I think I've heard of maybe one other radio that has more than 5 watts for a handheld.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you know,
You want to keep the power consumption down on the batteries.
yeah, and it's tri-level, so it's not just high and low power. It's like 1 watts, 4 watts, and 7 watts. So you know, you can transmit on 4 watts and medium power and work. If you need a little power, you can bump it up to 7, and there you go. You know,
and in most places, if the repeaters are in the right places, 5 watts is more than enough to hit the repeater.
Right.
Usually, typically. I've got some spots around here where, because of terrain and other things, it doesn't matter if you're running 100 watts, you're not hitting the repeater.
Right.
in most cases. In most cases, 5 watts is more than enough.
Mm-hmm. But, it has, really all the functionality that you really need, and it's cheap. It's $44.99 on mtcradio.com. And there's a link to all the stuff that we're going to talk about. There's a link in the show notes. Some of them are going to go to MTC Radio. Some of them will go to Amazon. If they go to Amazon, just for transparency's sake here, the links in Amazon is a affiliate link, so I will get a small commission back if you buy it through Amazon or anything else that you buy during that time. So that's one way to help the podcast. So the other Baofeng that I saw on there is also UV5R, but this is a UV5R-3, and it's a tri-band. I didn't know Baofeng was a tri-band. Yeah, it's 2 meter, 220, and 70 centimeter, and it's $49.95. So for a $50 bill, you can get a tri-band radio. So if you got
there, you go.
Yeah. So 220 is becoming more used in a lot of places, but you don't really hear a lot about it. But if you want to get on 220, there's a cheap radio to get on it.
Well, I've got to think it's a lot easier in most places to get 220 repeater pairs than it is to get than it is to get 70 centimeter or 2 meter.
Absolutely.
And 5 watts on 220 is what, 1.25 meters?
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Yeah. That's a lot of power on 220.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talk to folks around here that do 220 work, and my club's got a couple of 220 repeaters, and they're talking about 2 watts, 3 watts. So 5 watts is a lot of power on 220.
Right. And the one thing that I will say about the Baofengs that I don't like is that they are a nightmare to program in the field. You pretty much have to have chirp or something like that to program them, because they're a real pain in the tuchus to program in the field. It is doable, but they're a pain.
I have heard that. Well, do these radios come from MTC? Do they come with the programming cable? Is that included in the package?
Let's see. The tri-band includes the radio, a dual-band VHF UHF radio, a single-band 220 or a VHF UHF antenna, a single-band 220 antenna, 1500 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery. Belt clip, drop-in charger, ear mic, manual. So no, it does not come with programming cable.
Okay, so you could probably buy the programming cable for just a few more dollars, and chirp is free.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah, the programming cable you can get on MTC Radio for $13.
Okay, so there you go. So for $65, you've got everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
$65 plus a download.
Right.
To download chirp.
Yeah. So the last one on...
We should probably put a link to chirp in the show notes, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. The last low-end handheld transceiver that I want to talk about is the Elenco DJ500T. It's a 2 meter 440 dual band transceiver. It's $109.95. So it's basically twice the price of a Baofeng, but it is a Elenco. It's not the Chinese-made radios. It has a 5 watts output. It has 200 memory channels. It has a lot of stuff, and it's good. It's a good radio. Elencos are a very good radio. I've used several of them, and this one's still relatively cheap. Still, $110 plus tax. So it's a good little radio.
Yeah.
So there is some other things. Okay, those are the low ends. Okay, Now we're going to bump up a little bit more.
And those are all analog FM.
Right. Yeah, those are all analog FM, so they're, they can use on pretty much any repeater. I think
as we start moving into the digital.
Yeah. Yeah, as everything starts going digital. But next off, let's talk a little bit about those digital radios, because there is some that are cheap, and if you're lucky enough to have a DMR repeater in your area and that's what you use, you can still get a relatively cheap handheld for the DMRs, and most of those are the TYTs. The MD380. The thing with DMR radios is there's not a whole lot of dual band functionality with them. Most of them are monoband, and most of them are 440. There's honestly, last I looked, there's very few VHF DMR repeaters out there.
There was a pretty extensive discussion of DMRs on, it may have been the Ham Radio 360 podcast.
Yeah, it was 2 episodes ago, I think, they had the roundtable.
When they did the digital roundtable.
Mm-hmm.
Roundtable. And one of the things they said about that was, like I said earlier about 220, because it's getting so difficult to get repeater pairs on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of 1 1/4 meter or 220 megahertz. As we're starting to get into the talk about some of the digital, I want to throw one thing out there. If you're interested in getting into digital, before you sink the money into a radio, or you ask your husband, wife, kids, parents, nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever, to go sink some money into a radio, make sure and do a little research and find out what repeaters are in your area and what protocols they use. Mm-hmm. Because these things are not cross-compatible. I think there may be some effort going on by some manufacturers to look at ways to make them cross-compatible. But right now, they are not. So, check and see if you've got DMR repeaters in your area, then you want to look at a DMR radio. If you've got active D-Star repeaters in your area, look at the D-Star. If you've got C4FM, which is Yaesu Fusion, then those are the radios you want. So just so that as you go ask, you don't end up spending a lot of money on something that's not as useful as it could be.
Right. That's basically going to be a brick.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a philosophical issue with the way some people talk about. They talk about digital they talk about all these things as different operating modes. DMR is a mode, D-Star is a mode. I would contend that digital voice is the mode, and these are all different protocols within the mode. Mm-hmm. But that's a philosophical debate not meant for our Christmas shopping list episode. We can have that conversation later. Anyway, the comment is, make sure which types of repeaters are in your area so that as you're looking at digital voice radios, you get the right protocol.
Right. And this is a good time to get your Elmer involved, get your club involved, find out what goes where and who is on what, I guess.
You got it. You got it. Onto the shopping list.
Right. I would hate to buy a DMR radio with me, or a D-Star radio for that matter. Here where I am, me personally buying it, I would hate to do it because I would take the anywhere from $89 to $550 for a D-Star radio and basically throw it in the trash because I think there's one DMR repeater within 40 miles of me, and there's one D-Star repeater within 35 miles of me. So if I bought a handheld, it'd pretty much be useless to me. Pretty much every repeater around me is System Fusion. So it's either analog, which would work on the System Fusion repeaters, or System Fusion. That's what I'm basically limited to. Even though I really like that Kenwood. The Kenwood handheld, I really like that radio.
Well, Kenwood at Dayton last year in 2016, they had an HT that was DMR and D-Star, or D-Star and C4FM?
Must have been DMR, because
Yeah.
the only one that has the C4FM right now is Yaesu.
Yeah, that's their proprietary.
Mm.
But there was one available that Kenwood released last year that had, again, it wasn't cross-protocol capable, so you could use one protocol at a time, but it had D-Star and one other protocol in it. I'll have to see if I can find that.
I know the THD74A is a D-Star radio, and it's the only other commercially available D-Star radio other than ICOM that I know about.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So anyways, back to the DMR. There's the TYT DMR MD380, which you can get in the UHF or the VHF version. You can get those. The UHF version of it is $89, and the VHF version of it is $94. Both of those are available on Amazon. And then there is one, the TYT MD 2017 is actually a dual band radio, and it's $159.95, so $160 or give or take. And it's a dual band, and it's also available on Amazon, and there are links in the show notes. But those are the three. TYT, I guess, is pretty much the go-to radio from really what I'm understanding it for DMR radios, because they make some pretty good radios. But they're all the thing about DMR that I foresee is, with amateur radio, with amateur radio, we pride ourselves on being able to operate and change frequencies on the fly. If we're working a scene and we want to go, okay, well, I need to go to 147.56 and talk on simplex, I can punch the buttons on my radio and talk on that frequency. Whereas with DMR radios, it's all channel based, it's all programmed in the code plug, and if you don't have that channel in your code plug, you can't get it.
You're not going there.
Yeah, so that's the only drawback I see to DMR. The audio is great, the functionality is great, but you can't program on the fly. You can't, input a frequency and go to it, and you can't talk on analog.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I've heard some of the folks around here. We've had a couple of programs at our radio club on DMR, and they just go ahead and in their code plugs, they find all the repeaters for their particular protocol, and they just go ahead and stick all the repeaters in, and they're done. They're done with it. That way, they don't have to worry about the fact that, like I say, if it's not in the code plug, you're not going there, you're not using it, and that solves that problem. Especially since most of the folks that have the digital capabilities are quite active in their local in Aries, in the various Aries groups here in the Metro Atlanta area. So they want to make sure that they've got everything that everything they need when they deploy, if they have to deploy.
Right. But if I'm traveling, say I'm going to visit my mom or my aunt or my kids or whatever. I have to reprogram my radio for a repeater in their hometown. I can't just punch in the numbers and be done with it.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
That's the limitation that I see on DMR. That's the biggest hurdle on why I would want to get into it.
On the other hand, you can talk all over the world on an HT.
But you can do that with D-Star. You can do that with System Fusion. You can do that with your iPhone on Echolink or All right, so let's go ahead and move on to D-Star. Okay, D-Star, you're really limited on what you can get. You're basically limited to ICOM, with the exception of the one radio I was talking about earlier, the Kenwood THD74A, which is a Kenwood tri-band HT. I absolutely love this radio. I wish they would have gone with System Fusion rather than D-Star, because I love this radio. I mean, it has the built
bias.
It has the built-in
Bias based on what's in your area.
Yeah, but still, I love Kenwood. Kenwood is my absolute favorite radios of any of them. I have the only non-Kenwood radio that I have is my HF radio and my But
every ticket for saying Baofeng.
Yeah, I need to get like a cough button or something. On another side note here, another podcast. Anytime that they say the Heil PR40 microphone, they have this sound effects like Heil PR40. So anytime need to get a cough button or something, Baofeng. Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyways, no, that's stinging. Yeah. Okay, so the ICOM, you have the one that I suggest. I think there's two of them that ICOM has for the handhelds, but the ID51A Plus 2 is the ICOM radio that I recommend, and it's a $550 price tag. And then, of course, the Kenwood, which is my best, Kenwood. And that's basically a $500 price tag. And they actually have a special coupon right now at NTC Radio that you can get with it. Let's see. It's valid from... It's not even valid anymore. Huh. 11.2 to 11.4 is when it was valid. So they don't have the special coupon anymore. It's way off and out of date. But anyways, $500, and it is a awesome little radio. I love this thing. Anyways, enough about that.
So anyway, ICOM's got two current D-Star HTs. They got the ID51 Plus and the ID31.
And what's the 31?
Just as an FYI.
Do you know what the 31 runs for off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but I happen to be looking at, and of course they don't have any. I'm looking at ICOM's website while we're talking about this stuff, and they don't have any pricing info. But I bet I can get you some really quickly.
Do 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 do.
Let's see. It is. I can find the actual radio here, and all kinds of accessories. I can't find the actual radio. Holy smoke! Did I put that in right? What are the odds that I did it wrong? Nope, I did it right. Well, I'm looking at one of the larger amateur radio retailers, and they don't have the radio. They've got all the accessories for it, but they don't have the radio itself. So,
yeah, that was the only one that I saw on MTC Radio too. Was the 51? So maybe they're trying to wean out the 31.
It could be.
Maybe so.
Okay, so never mind what I said. The ID51 Plus is the
is the go-to radio for ICOM if that's what you like.
ICOM, apparently, for HTs. That's what I get for trying to be helpful.
You have to give our listeners all the information so they have it to judge from, right? And you're just trying to save money.
Informed consent.
Yeah,
informed consumers.
Exactly. So the next thing and the last thing in the HT category is the System Fusion or the C4 FM. Now with this, you're limited to Yaesu. So if you don't like Yaesu, then you're probably not going to have a System Fusion. But if you have System Fusion like I do in your area, you're going to be either analog or System Fusion. So you have two choices. You have the FT70DR, which is a dual band 5-watt HT for $195.95. So basically $200 bills. And you have the FT2DR, which is also dual band. And it retails for basically $420. And they have a mail-in rebate as of this recording that you can get it for $380, a little less. But those are the two. I really like the the 2DR. I was thinking there was another one. There might be another one. So if you know what it is, leave a comment below. And if you know what it is, Ian, just speak up now.
Looking. I'm curious, actually, because I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm curious, why is the FT2DR twice as much as the FT70DR.
Yeah, I was thinking there's like a FT1DR or something like that. I might be wrong, and it doesn't look like I'm right. So, but like I said, I could have swore there was another one in there. I'll have to go back back to episode number 2. I think that's where I have all my System Fusion ones.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's back a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those are the ones. At least those are the ones that I recommend. But they do have a fairly steep price tag, of course. But you're getting the digital voice and all that. So if you want cheap, go with the ones we talked about earlier, or even the 70DR, $200. So that's a good radio.
Sorry. I'm not meaning to leave dead air. I'm looking at Yaesu's website to see if there's any other information there, and I'm not finding any. So there you go. Those are your 2 Yaesu choices for C4 FM.
There you go. So is there any other HTs that you want to talk about?
You know what? In the price ranges, no. I've been, like I said, I've got an FT or a Yaesu, the VX5R, and that's a retired model. They don't make that one anymore. Mm-hmm. And, so my wife has an FT60, which they are still making, and I think they're still making, and I believe was fairly reasonably priced. I think they moved on to the FT65. But was, I'm looking for pricing information. I'm cheating as we go. I should have done my homework. Mm-hmm. So the FT65 is $120.
Now, is that a monoband or a dual band?
It's 2 meter 70 centimeter. Very, it's not a lot of frills. It's list is 140. Most of the popular manufacturers or most of the popular vendors online and otherwise discount them a little bit. So the one I'm looking at now is $120 now. Excuse me. So that's a good it's a good rugged little HT. Like I said, my wife has one. She uses it for we do a couple public service events a year, and one is in the dead of winter. They're both road races. One's a 5K, one's a 10K, and one is in the middle of February. Or the late February when we have what passes for winter in Georgia, so it's cold at 6 in the morning when you're standing outside by a river. Mm-hmm. The other one is in the week before field day, so it's in June. So in Georgia, it's hot and humid when you're standing out by a river at 6 in the morning, and it works really well in both of those situations. And she's had it at field day where we're out all day in the heat and the humidity, and it's just really been a real good radio. The VX, whatever number they're up to now, line of HTs is considerably more expensive because they're more feature packed. I think they're now water resistant and they come with APRS capabilities and all those kinds of things. So that line is a little bit more expensive, but again, really, really good radios. I've always been very, very happy with my HT.
One of the things that I look for, and this list that I have here is a lot of my preference of what I like. And the reason that I chose these over the 65R, yes, the 65R is a dual band radio. It will work on 2 meters and 440. But the thing that it doesn't have, the thing that it lacks, is the dual band receive. If I'm looking at it right, you can't be on a 2 meter frequency and hear a 70 centimeter frequency. And a lot of times, especially if you're going to be using your handheld in a emergency situation or something like that, a lot of times you're going to be listening to 2 different frequencies. You're going to be listening to a 40 meter frequency and a 2 meter frequency, or at least I do. I'm always listening to 2 things at the very least. A lot of times I'll have 2 radios and listen to 4 things, but that is one of the things that I absolutely must have when it comes to a handheld, when it comes to any radio. a dual band, dual receive. Have to, absolute must. So
and I've got that in my mobile and wouldn't do without it.
Yeah, and you know, with that you can do the crossband repeating. You know, you can listen to multiple frequencies at the same time. You know, you can do multiple. A lot of them have the multiple VHF or UHF, where you can listen to two 2-meter frequencies or two 70-centimeter frequencies at the same time. And that's a big thing. You know, you're listening to your main net and a resource net or something like that, and they're both on 2 meters. Well, you can't do that unless you have two radios or have one that has dual receive. So that's one of the things that I look for on any radio that I recommend to anybody.
Yeah, satellites too. If you're not doing MCOM, if you like to do satellites, the VX8DR, which is the Yaesu top end HT. So you know we've got the some of the lower end. You know, we're going to go for the granddaddy of them too now. 4 bands, 6 meters, 2 meters, 1 1/4 meters, 70 centimeters. It's got APRS, it's got GPS, it has Bluetooth capabilities, and it's actually for everything that you get, it's $370. So that's actually a lot of radio in a very tiny package.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been from an HT perspective, I've always been fond of the Yaesus. So that's just kind of my take on that.
Well, you got to go with what you like, and and that's one thing that I want y'all to make sure and take away from. This is our preferences. You know, if you like a Yaesu over an ICOM, get the Yaesu. If you like the Kenwood over the Alinco, get the Kenwood, and you'll be my best friend.
It's all about what works for your particular situation.
Right.
I tell people, I tell the new folks. When I'm giving exams and they're like, okay, I need to go find a radio. How do I know what radio to choose? We have an HRO here in Atlanta, and I tell them, yeah, right. And I tell everybody, go to HRO, ask them to let you play with the stuff. They will be happy to let you play with the stuff. And if you're looking at, like the VHF, UHF, base or mobile, they've got a bunch of them set out and already connected to antennas.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what you want from the hobby and figure out what works for you and go from there. And, that's what makes you a good ham. Not because you listen to us, not because you listen to what the guy, the guy that's speaking at the ham club says, is the best radio on the planet. It's you find what works for you. And these are just some suggestions and maybe some starting points for you as you, either enter ham radio, and hey, it's the holiday season, so this is a great time to enter ham radio and get started, or maybe you've just upgraded and you're looking to upgrade your gear, or you just in general want to upgrade your gear.
Mm-hmm.
Just the guideline is listen to us a little bit, but figure out what you want to do in the hobby and find the rig that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Right. And this is a perfect segue to our mobile radios. and the reason being, after that big old long spiel of how I choose my radios, this is really the only exception to that rule. And there might be another one, but this is the one that I like, and that's for the mobile radios, the low end mono band 2 meter Alinco DR135 TMKIII. Long model number.
Say that 5 times real fast.
That. Anyways, it's $172.95, and you get free shipping from MTC Radio. Now, the reason that I like this radio, and this might be something that you use later on, but it's a very stable radio, very nice radio. It has the 5, 25, and 50 watts, I believe, but it also has a optional module that you can buy that is a TNC daughter board, and you actually plug it into the radio, and it will work for an APRS, it'll work for packet, it'll work for FL Digi on 2 meters or whatever, WinLink, all those things that you can use on 2 meters, all built into the radio. And if you don't have this little optional module, the audio routing and stuff is all done for you, where all you have to do is plug it in the back. I believe it's
Nice.
a little like 7-pin DIN connector or something like that in the back of the radio. So this is a awesome little radio, and it's great for a entry level. If all you need is 2 meters, it's great for an entry level radio that you will use later on in your amateur radio life. If you don't use it right away, you can always get that. And there's actually another. I don't remember what it's called, but I heard it over on the Field Radio podcast last week. I want to say that there's another manufacturer that makes a TNC daughter board that you can put on this radio. So nice little radio, yeah, and $173. It's hard to beat. But
There you go.
But speaking of beating. TYT has a radio, the ETH091 Plus, and it's the upgraded version. It is a quad band mobile radio for $198.
Oh wow,
And
that's way inexpensive.
Yeah, and it has 10 meters, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters in one radio for less than $200.
And 6 and 10 are FM in that case, right?
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
so.
So make sure you got 6-meter repeaters and 10-meter repeaters in your local area,
Right.
or that you can hit. 10-meter repeaters you might be able to hit. There's one on the East Coast. There's a popular one in New York. So from Atlanta, you could probably hit, on one hop, you could probably hit the 10-meter repeater in New York. But anyway, just throwing that out there about those 6 and 10. Be aware they are FM.
Yeah, as far as I know, they probably are FM. 6 meter for sure is FM.
Yep.
I was trying to read real fast while you were talking, and you didn't talk long enough.
You gotta catch me when I'm feeling verbose.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where it says anything about being single sideband. I doubt that it is. So it's probably, like you said, is probably 2 meter. I mean FM rather.
Yeah.
So, okay, so next up, my notes here. The next low-end mobile radio is, again, a Alinco, and it's a DR735T, and it's for a $300 bill. It's a nice little radio, VHF, UHF, dual band, dual receive, full duplex transceiver, nice little radio. Has a nice display on it, very high, I guess you could say. It's not just real skinny, but it's really nice. It has 8 full RGB color LEDs, so you can set the different colors you want on there. It has individual tuning knobs and individual squelch knobs on both sides of it, which is a really nice feature to have. It has crossband and all that. Very nice little radio, very stable. I have a friend that has this radio, and he absolutely loves it. So, and that's $300.
Yeah. So the comparable from Yaesu is the FT8900R, and that also is 10.6, 2 and 70 centimeters, and that's it's FM, but does if you're into MCOM and Aries, that and the FT8800 have the crossband repeat functionality, which can be important when you're doing Aries work or doing MCOM work or doing satellites. You can, satellites are up on one band, down on the other, so you can use them mobile as your satellite hunting. So that's the low end. I don't want to say low end because that implies quality issues. But the lower cost rigs from Yaesu, they've got the FT2980R is around $120, and that's it's a 2 meter 80 watt 80 watt rig. You throw it in the car or throw it down on the put it in your shack, and you're going to have a lot of power heading at your local repeater there.
Wow.
In fact, I'm looking at the picture of it, and half the case is a heat sink because of 80 watts out on 2 meters.
Now, is that FM, or does it have the single side in it?
No, it's FM. It's an FM, but it's like $120.
In 80 watts output, if you live out in the sticks like I do.
Yep.
Granted, I have a repeater that I can see from my house, but still, if you need that little extra oomph, an 80 watt radio is a good way to go.
Yeah.
And Yee's a great brand, so.
Yeah, it is. And Yaesu's got some new, I'll just throw out there, since we talked about it before, C4FM mobile, the FTM 400DR. A little more expensive, but it's 2 meter, 70 centimeter. It's got C4FM, everything that you would expect. Do voice and data at the same time on different bands. All kinds of neat, and it does analog as well. So,
yeah, that's the beauty of System Fusion. Analog, digital, automatically switches between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one is, I can't find a price.
No, it was
I am striking out on price. We've got all these great FTM 400DR.
The FTM 400XDR at main training company is $598 with a $50 rebate, mail-in rebate.
Yeah, it's
as of the time of this recording.
Yep, it's $550 after rebate at Ham Radio Outlet as well.
So there you go. And
there you go.
And it is a awesome radio. Of course, the downstep to this, which is just over that $300 price limit that I put for the low and the high end, is the FTM 100DR, and it's $309. So it's right. I mean, it's the low end of the System Fusion, and it's still a really nice looking radio. And and I believe it has the dual receive too. I mean, the easiest way I find to tell if it has dual receive, and it's not that way for every radio, but if you can see both frequencies, more than likely you can hear both frequencies.
Yeah.
So that's a good kind of rule of thumb when you're looking to buy a radio. Might be wrong. There's probably some out there that are not that way, but I know my brother has one that's like that. You can see both frequencies, but you can only hear one at a time. So on the...
I'm looking at it now.
Are you adding that to your wish list?
Not right now. I'm still not sold personally on digital voice.
Yeah. Etc.
Yep.
Okay, so on the high end of the radios, being a Kenwood guy, these are the two that I recommend. And the reason that I recommend these on the high end spot and not some other ones is because most of the other high end mobile radios for ICOM are D-Star. Most of the Yaesu ones are System Fusion. Kenwood really is the only one that hasn't jumped on the bandwagon other than the HT that they have for digital modes. So the two analog ones that I recommend is the Kenwood TM-V71A, and that retails for just shy of $335, and then the TM-D710G, which is $609. And this radio is very nice, especially if you're doing APRS, because it has a built-in APRS TNC in it as well as a GPS. Very nice radio. If you want to do APRS, very nice. Granted, it does take away from one of the sides to send the packets and stuff, so you only have one side when you're using it, but it's only, like a second burst every however long you have it set for that you lose. So it's not that bad, but it is a nice little radio to have if you want to have just a tracker in your vehicle or something like that, and you don't talk a lot or something. Nice little radio to have. But it also comes with the price tag of $609. So,
if I'm spending $6 for a radio, I kind of want to be able to talk on it.
Well, it's not. It's not so much that you can't talk on it. I mean, it has. You can set a 2 meter or 70 centimeter frequency on one side and your APRS frequency on the other side, and for the second or two that it takes to transmit, you might desense the other side, or you'll stop transmitting. But it also, I believe it has a limiter on there where if you're actually talking, it'll wait until you're done talking before it'll transmit. Since it's already keyed up, that just seems reasonable. But,
there you go.
But it is a nice radio, and especially if you want to do APRS, it's a nice radio. But again, it's at $6, so
Yeah.
I can buy a tiny tracker or something like that and hook it on my car for $150 or something. So there you go.
But you don't get 2 meter 440 FM capabilities that way with a tiny tracker.
Yeah, but then you can spend the $300 or something for a dual band radio, and you're still coming out ahead.
I'm going to try and play both ends of the both ends of the candle against the middle.
Okay, so DMR is our next topic. They have the TYT again, TYT for DMR. It seems the MD9600 dual band DMR mobile radio, $279, so it's on the cheaper end. Of course, DMR tends to be on the cheaper end. And last but not least, the D-Star radios is the ICOM ID4100A. Very nice radio, and it's $395. So it's still relatively cheap. It's still cheaper than the high-end System Fusion one. It's cheaper than the high-end, the D710. But it is a good little radio, and if you have D-Star, that's the radio to go with. So.
Yeah, and I didn't pay much less than that years ago for my FT8800. Mm-hmm. So, I paid $350, $360 for that radio. Yeah. So, for an extra $30, if you want to do D-Star, you're getting 2 meter, 70 centimeter D-Star. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's take a quick break here before we move on and hear from Dan about getting your ham license through his no-nonsense study guide. So stick around, y'all. We will be right back, and we will continue our discussion of our Christmas wish list.
Hi, this is Dan, KB6NU, author of the No-Nonsense Amateur Radio License Study Guides. My study guides have helped thousands get their license or upgrade to general class or extra class, and they can help you too. What makes them unique is my no-nonsense style. I don't bamboozle you with a lot of text. Instead, I give you just what you need to know in a simple, straightforward way that's designed to help you pass the test. One reader even told me, your study guide explained in a couple of paragraphs topics that the license manual needed a couple of pages to cover. Another wrote, the clarity and simplicity of your descriptions blew the license manual away. My study guides are available in paperback, in a variety of ebook formats, and even as audiobooks. Get your copy today. Go to kb6nu.com/ETHR for more info. Thanks.
All right, y'all, we are back, and we're again joined by Ian Kahn, KM4IK, as our special guest host again for this episode. We're going to try and speed it up here a little bit. We're going a little bit longer than I had originally planned. So let's talk real quickly about some HF radios.
I would say it's hard not to go long when you're talking about the holidays, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
All this good stuff.
Yeah. So, if you're looking at the list that we have, let's kind of hopscotch a little bit over these a little bit if you want, or I can just go through the list either way. But first off, the kind of going from least to greatest in price, the Yaesu FT091. I guess I should let you do that since you're a Yaesu person, and the next one is a Kenwood.
Well, actually, truth be told, at the HF, I'm an Elecraft guy.
Oh.
You're not going to find my rigs at Main Trading Company or at HRO or at Gigaparts. But that's okay. That's another conversation.
Yeah. So first off, the FT091. HF 6 meter 100 watt all mode transmitter, $578. Not bad. That's actually cheaper than some of the dual band radios that we talked about earlier. So nice little radio, very high quality. There you go. Very good.
Yep.
So next up is the Kenwood, the Kenwood TS480 SAT. It's also 100 watts, FM plus 6 meter, and it jumps up a little bit, $829.
That one's becoming a classic, though.
Yeah.
The 480 SAT. That's becoming, for a lot of people, a go-to rig.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by classic, not like the boat anchors that people collect kind of classic. Not like Halicrafters is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
More like, this is a go-to kind of stalwart. It's a smaller rig, so it's got some mobile capabilities to it, or some portable capabilities to it. So that may account for some of the little bit higher price tag on that one.
Mm-hmm. And it is a very nice little radio. That's one of the things that I like to look at, especially with the HF radios. I like all the little buttons and knobs and gauges and dials and stuff like that. Of course, if that was the case, I'd be talking about the new Icon that's coming out, or the Kenwood
7610.
Yeah, the 7610, or the Kenwood TS2000, which is $1379. There's some of them that are listed on MTC. I believe it was where I found it. It's like $15,000.
Oh, sure. And they have all the buttons and knobs and twisties and encoders and waterfalls and those are for the
those that have more money than they know what to do with it.
Well, but really, really, really serious contesters and DXers, because most of those are built-in dual receivers, and they may be 200 watts. Mm-hmm. Although Yaesu had, what was it, the 5000 that was 200 watts? The FT5000 or the FT5000 MPX, one of them was an out of the box 200 watt rig. But I digress, and I'm leading us away from where we need to be. So back to the subject at hand.
Okay, so next up we go to ICOM with the IC7100. It's 160 through 10 meters, 6 meters, 2 meters, 440, so a good all-around radio for your home station. 12 volt DC power. Also has D-Star radio, and it's just shy of $1,000 at $979. But at the time of this recording, there is a mail-in rebate that drops it down to $779. So second cheapest on the list, has the D-Star, has all four modes, or all four.
Quite reasonable.
Yeah, and really nice radio. So, and it has all the little bells and whistles that I like.
So for everyone that's paying attention, if you're going to do some Christmas shopping for Curtis, he wants a rig with lots of buttons and knobs and bells and whistles.
Yeah, so I can mess it up and.
Those $15,000 Icom and Yaesu rigs we were talking about, he'd love one of those just to be a space heater in his shack.
No. I don't want one of those $15,000 ones, because my kids would come over here and press buttons, and I'd never get to work again. Okay, so let's see. Next up, real fast, the Yaesu FT-DX 1200, HF plus 50. And it's just over $1,000. Retail is $1,159, and after rebate $1,058. So there's a nice little $100 off.
And that's another good compact little HF rig too.
Mm-hmm.
So
the IC7300 from ICOM is $1,348 with $100 off mail-in rebate, and it, if memory serves me. Yeah, it has the nice little waterfall display on it, and I believe this one's like a kind of like a software-defined radio type thing built in. Uses the new technology. It's the industry first as RF direct sampling system is being used as in a entry-level HF radio. The ability to digitize RF before various receiver stages reduces the inherent noise that is generated in different IF stages of the radio. So, very nice little radio. And like I said, it is the, I believe it's like the SDR type thing that ICOM has.
That's becoming a more and more popular way to go.
It is.
The IC7610, when it comes out, is an SDR. I think the IC7300 is one. As you move towards being able to develop features in software, so you can improve your radio via software download, it lends towards the longevity of the radios, which, maybe for the manufacturers is a little less of a plus. But for those of us that, as consumers, it's one of the things I love about my K3 is I don't have to buy the latest, greatest, newest in order to get a new radio. I download the new firmware, and I've got all the latest features and improvements that are available for my radio. So that's a really nice perk.
Well, yeah, and I would think that the hardware that is involved with it as well would be easier to produce, easier to maintain because it's all software based, or mostly software based.
Yeah. So, you have to make sure you don't fry your EEPROM, but
well, there's that.
Other than that, there's that. But otherwise, you can be. I'm not an engineer. I'm speculating, but I think you can be more versatile in your engineering and in your circuitry design when you don't have to worry about. Well, if I want to develop a new capability for this radio, now all of a sudden I've got to plug a new board in. Mm-hmm. Well, instead of having to figure out where I'm going to sandwich this new board in, I just develop a new firmware and just add the capability to the firmware, redesign a couple of menus, and let my users download it and flash their rigs, and bam, in 10 minutes you've got a new radio.
Right. So next on our list is back to my favorites, the Kenwood TS2000, which is again the HF6, 2, and 7 UHF transceivers, 100 watts, $13.79, and right now at Main Trading Company through the 31st of the year, this year of December rather, you get $200 off. So it's actually $200 less than that. So, nice little radio. It doesn't have, the waterfall display or anything like that, but it is a very nice radio, very rugged, I guess you could say. So,
yeah.
And it has, it's another good home base radio where you just have to have one instead of, 2 meter, 440, HF, 6 meter, whatever. It's all built into one. So that's a good way to go.
Yeah. And it's a little bit bigger radio. It's definitely a desktop radio, but it's a beast.
Yeah.
Again, another one of the rigs that's known for durability, and contesters use them. We've used them at field day several years in a row for our GOTA station. We've used a TS2000, and they just rock. They're rock solid. Yeah. So good little radios.
That's one thing I really like about Kenwoods. They don't come out with new radios that often, so you get a lot of longevity with them. I mean, the 2 meter radio that I have, or the mobile radio that I have in my car, and sitting here on my desk in my ham shack, is a Kenwood TM733. They stopped making those the year I got my license, I think. I bought both of them used for $200, $250 at Hamcom here in DFW, and they still rock. I mean, the only thing I have is the one here in my shack. The backlighting doesn't work anymore, but other than that, they're great radios, and they will just pound away, and pound. Then you get the 742s, which again is not in production anymore, but it was a modular radio. You could buy the 2 meter, the 440, or you get the 220 440 would come standard in it. I think the 741 was the 2 meter, or the 220 440, and the 742 was 2 meter 440. But you could buy a 220 module, you can buy a 1.2 gig module, you can buy a 10 meter module, you can buy the 6 meter module, all those, and just plug it in, and you get that third band, so you get a tri-band radio. Why they stopped making it, I have no idea. Because it was an awesome radio. But
so somebody somewhere in marketing got an idea.
Yeah.
That's usually the way that happens.
Yeah. And they haven't really replaced it, though. That's what I don't understand. You get this awesome radio with great capabilities, and they stop making it, and they don't upgrade it and make a new one. At least the 733 that I have, what was it? The one we talked about earlier, the V70, V71, I think. Yeah, the V71 is basically the upgrade of the 733. It has basically the same lines, the same functionality, stuff like that, of the 733. And they upgraded it. It's still a great radio. But the 742, they didn't.
Well, that's called creating your own demand, I guess, and increased value for the used rigs once they go out of production.
Right.
Create something that's really good, that's really rock solid, that just works and does what it's supposed to do. And then when you stop manufacturing it, in a few years, the used market becomes more valuable than the new market did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I would buy another 733 right now if I found one. More than likely, probably not. Yeah. But if it was available and I needed a good cheap radio that would work for the next 20 years like these have, why not? Or a 742, absolutely, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
Yep.
But anyways, let's continue. We got kind of sidetracked there.
Moving on.
Yeah. Of course, we talked about the 7610. That's going to be released here mid-December, I think, early mid-December, I think.
Early to mid-December is what I heard from ICOM.
Yeah, I think MTC Radio has on their website, they're getting them in on the 12th of December, if memory serves. Okay. And they've actually already sold 100 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
People like what they like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that ICOM's been talking about for a while. And you on the ham radio outlet website, all you can do is place a reservation. So they don't have an anticipated arrival date on the website yet. So
there you go.
There you go. But I was at a ham fest over the weekend, and ICOM had a booth there, and I asked them about it, and they did say that they're anticipating release sometime early to mid December for the IC 7610 to get it out there for the holiday season.
Mm-hmm. Good time to get it out. Honey, I need a new radio. Yeah, right. That ain't gonna happen. Let's see. Last on HF, the Yaesu ETH091. Ian, you added this one to the list, so why don't you tell us about it?
Another good Yaesu rig. It's kind of the upgrade from the old FT857D. I have the old 857D, which you can still get. It runs about $900 now. But the 991 is the HF 6 meter, 2 meter, 70 centimeter, portable, mobile. It's more portable than mobile. But just another good, solid Yaesu rig if you want something that, you can do all bands, all modes. And, you're going to go to your parents' house for the holidays and you want to be able to maybe, do a little 100-watt radio while you're there instead of taking your QRP rig or whatever around or your low-power rig with you. Another good product from Yaesu that fits that need. It fits that niche. I won't call it a need. It fits that niche in the market.
Yeah, and it's a C4 FM radio too. So,
yeah,
great little radio. Okay, I found me a new favorite here. That's the one I want, y'all. The FT991. So if y'all want to buy that for me, I'll gladly take it off your hands.
I bet you would.
So
and the price on that, the 991A, is right just a little over $1,300.
Well, see, that's just a drop in the bucket.
Well, for that radio, it is.
Yeah.
When you think about what you're getting for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about. We're going to continue talking about HF radios, but we're going to go on the low power side. So, since you are a Elecraft person, why don't you talk about the QRP transceivers?
Sure. And I threw these on here just because I know a lot of people here in the Atlanta area, at least, that either like QRP or they like to go hiking or camping and are outdoorsy and want to take a good rig with them when they go, and you don't want to lug even an 857 that's small, but it's a little heavy for backpacking. So I started with the two QRP rigs from Elecraft, the KX2 and the KX3. The KX2 is the newer of the two. It was released, and only because it was released later. It has nothing to do with capability. It is only available factory assembled. They introduced it at Dayton in 2016. $750 for a base 10-watt radio, and then they have a bunch of accessories and filters and antenna tuners and things that you can add on that will increase the price appropriately. The KX3 is the largest. So the KX2 is 80 to 10 single sideband CW digital, I believe. The KX3 is 160 to 10 meters. Single sideband CW digital, and it may have AM as well as a capability. The KX3 is $950 for the kit base price, and then of course you can add antenna tuners and other filters, and there's an amplifier that the KXPA 100 is a 100-watt amplifier that you can buy. That's an add-on. You can buy a PX3, which is the pan adapter for the KX3. So a slew of accessories that, depending on how you accessorize, the price can rise just for the radio itself, depending on the filters and mic or paddle or both or other things, other factors, gets up to about $1,300, I think, fully stocked out, somewhere in that neighborhood for the KX3. The other one that I have on here for popular QRP transceivers is we'll go back to Yaesu, the FT817ND. And actually, I have one of these. I bought it used, and I use it when I travel. And it fits. It actually goes with me everywhere my laptop goes because it fits in the same case. It sits in one of the pockets of my laptop bag. Another HF through, this one maybe HF through 70 centimeters, maxes out at 5 watts. Phone, CW, you can do digital through it as well. This one has 2 different antenna jacks on it. It's got a BNC on the front. It's got a PL259 on the back. You can use one or the other depending on what kind of antenna connectors you have on your antenna. And just another nice little, very, very durable, very rugged QRP rig. So, that's...
Little is an understatement on that thing. That thing's tiny.
Yeah. I mean, it sits in the front pocket. Like I said, it sits in the front pocket of my laptop bag along with a signal link and most of the cables, the microphone, and it's got all of these rigs that I talked about have internal battery packs, so you don't need an external power supply. You do need to charge them before you take them out.
Yeah, that might help.
Yeah. Or you're not going to do a lot of operating. But I've got the 817 and the power cord for my laptop and a whole bunch of cables and a couple of little accessories all in my laptop bag. The only thing I don't have in the laptop bag is an antenna. I use ham sticks that I keep in a PVC tube, some PVC pipe with end caps. Makes a very easy and convenient carrying case for those, and a mag mount.
You just need to get you a Pac-10 Mini that'll fit in one of the little pockets.
I gotta have trees to put up a Pac-10 Mini.
Not necessarily.
I'm not always someplace where I got trees. I could carry masts with me, but I don't carry masts with me when I travel.
You just kind of use a slingshot and kind of shoot it over a light pole or up on a balcony or something like that. You only need
the problem with the light pole is you run the risk of picking up interference either from the ballast on the light or from the transformer. Or
okay, well, a flagpole then. You ain't going to get interference from that. Hook the end of it to the flagpole and raise it up. There you go.
Yeah, I'm just being contrary now.
All right, so there's your QRP radios. Awesome little radios, KX2 especially. That thing is awesome. Yeah. Yep. Really nice. And
my holiday wish list, by the way, as we go further down some of the items on this list, is a lot of it is some of it's stuff that's been around, that's classic, that's always useful. Some of it is latest and greatest and newest and truly wish listy kinds of things that I don't ever anticipate owning. So just to throw that out there.
So while 100 watts is great, and while QRP is, a lot of times all you really need, there is those times when you wish you had a little bit more power, and that's where amplifiers come in, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, and since this is an Elecraft thing, tell us about it.
So I'm a big fan of QRO. Elecraft finally announced at Visalia, the Visalia International DX Convention this year, a 1500 watt amplifier. It is not shipping yet. They are taking orders and taking reservations. They expect it to ship sometime this month. They've got a backlog of pre-orders that they've got to fill. But the KPA 1500 is their solid state full legal limit amplifier, and it comes with a full legal limit tuner built into it. So it's really two pieces of equipment in one cabinet, which is really, really nice. I don't imagine you're taking it portable.
Probably not.
Probably not. And the price, the introductory price, hold on to your hats, $6,000. However, remember, you're getting a full legal limit solid state amplifier that, it will work with any rig manufactured. If you use it with an Elecraft rig and have all the right cables, it will do automatic band switching, and it'll do all the tuning for you. It'll switch in the right tuning scheme through the auto tuner, as with just about any other piece of Elecraft gear. Full disclosure, I don't get any money from Elecraft for talking about their gear. However, every piece of equipment in my shack that transmits RF on purpose.
I like that, on purpose.
Well, we all know there are transmitters that aren't meant to be transmitters. But I have a K3, I have a KPA 500 amplifier, I have the KAT 500 tuner, and I have a P3 pan adapter. So I am very much a fan of the Elecraft gear. I love it. So the full disclaimer there. When we're talking about amps, the old we go with the tube amps, models like the AL811 and the AL811H from Ameritron are still great products. If you want to go with the old heat your shack in the winter tube based, they're tube based. They use 811s, the model of the amplifier. You can put 572s in them and get a little extra power out of them. The 811 is a 500 watt amp, and the 811H is a 600 or 800 watt amp. But again, I had an 811H before I got my KPA 500. Great little amplifier. Loved that one. And a number of other manufacturers that make really, really good, really solid amplifiers if you want to add some QRO to your shack.
Just make sure that you don't get any RF energy into yourself, and you'll be good.
Well, what's funny is like in our house, when we turn up the amplifier and on certain bands, the alarm siren in our hallway starts to click. you start hearing the transmissions through the house security system. That's always fun.
Ian, are you talking on 60 meters again?
Exactly. No, it wouldn't be on 60 meters because you're limited to 100 watts on 60 meters. But
are you talking on 40 meters?
Get on 10 meters and start running all kinds of power. It tends to creep into things.
All right, so we went from QRP to 1500.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's talk some digital interfaces.
Sure, why not? Well, first off, West Mountain Radio has been awesome to me with this podcast. They've been a sponsor for me for this year, and they're continuing to do so. I'm grateful for West Mountain Radio, and they make some awesome products. You heard about the power gate earlier today, earlier in this episode, but they also have the rig blasters, the rig runners, and all that stuff. But as far as digital interface goes, the rig blasters are awesome. You can go anywhere from a rig blaster nano or USB, I think that's what it's called, all the way up to like the rig blaster Advantage. and they do everything, any digital mode that you can think of, they'll do. Awesome little things, and that is my recommendation if you want to go digital.
The other option, another option, is the SignalLink USB by Tigertronics. That one is physically it's smaller. It's when you purchase that, when you get the cables for your rig, you get a module that drops into it. It's like an 8-pin DIMM packet, I think, is the format that they use. When you order it, you get the DIMM packet for your rig. And I carry one of those around with me with my 817 when I'm traveling, if I want to do digital. I tend more to do sideband when I'm traveling. One of these days I might actually learn CW and really start burning up the airwaves that way. But those are the two predominant digital modes. There are kits out there that you can build. There are others available, but those are the two most popular, I would think. And with the increasing popularity of JT9, JT65, FT8, I think we would have been remiss if we didn't include these.
Absolutely.
So, there you go.
Yeah. So let's talk about some power needs now. One of the things that you need, you basically need, three things to make a ham shack or a ham station work. You need a radio, which we've talked about. You need an antenna, which we're going to talk about, and you need power. And there's several ways you can do it. You can buy just a power supply. You can buy a battery, all that stuff. But we have this massive burning ball of gas that sends out radiation that we are allowed, or that we are able to harness with a solar panel. Now, some solar panels, they're hard to set up, they're rugged, they easily break, and stuff like that. But Power Film makes these awesome solar panels that are flexible, that will roll up or fold up, and they have some really great efficiency to them too. They go anywhere from a small solar panel to charge your phone or your MP3 player, or some like iPad or something like that, all the way up to ones that I saw one, and I'm sure it was probably the Power Film, or the solar film rather, whatever it is, solar power film, yeah.
Power Film Solar.
Yeah, something like that. I saw this one where it was mounted on a trailer, and it had this massive solar panel where it was rolled up in the trailer, and they rolled it out, and it was 50 yards long or something like that, and put out this massive amount of power. Yeah, it was a really cool video, and I'm sure you most of you probably seen it. It went around the internet a couple of years ago or so, and it was really big. But they make anything from a 7-watt up to, I think, like a 300 or 400 watt solar power film, sure. And they're really awesome things. So, the Power Film ones are really, really neat, really good to go to if you're looking to get into solar power, and they're super easy to fix. If a solar cell goes out, you don't have to replace the whole panel like you do with a lot of the solar panels. You can actually just do the actual element.
Replace the cell that went bad.
Yeah. So, really neat. And I'll have a link in the show notes. I believe it was the Workbench podcast, I think, that talked with a guy from the solar power film company a couple episodes back. I'll include a link to that in the show notes as well, so you can listen to the guy talking about how it works and the efficiency and all that. But if you're looking for
the battery to plug that thing into to store your juice.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of battery technologies. Lithium iron phosphate is becoming really big. Mm-hmm. They are high capacity in a small, relatively lightweight package. I saw there was a dealer that had the Bioano Power ones at the Hamfest I was at over the weekend, and I was looking at them, and they're not horribly expensive, all things considered, and they are for the capacities like a 12 volt 7 amp hour battery. I could almost put in my back pocket.
Yeah.
It was very small, very light for what you're getting. And of course there's some of the old classic, the absorptive gas mats, some of the old sealed lead acids, but all kinds of battery technologies. And if you can have the solar power panel, get a charge controller and connect it to a battery so you can store all that power you're generating with the solar cell.
Right.
Or you're harnessing, I guess.
Yeah. And speaking of a charge controller, West Mountain Radio came out with the Epic PowerGate just last month, I want to say, which has a solar controller built into it. And then also a power supply and a battery inputs, and then it goes out to your power, your rig runner or whatever. But it also has a solar charge controller built into it. Awesome little thing. So that's a good way to hook up your solar power or your battery power or your power supply, all that into one thing, so you have automatic switching if you lose power or you need to charge your batteries or whatever. And speaking of batteries, you also have the DC to go boxes with West Mountain Radio that have rig runners and the power gate built on the side of the box. So
yeah, great
little things. West Mountain Radio
keeps your battery safe too.
Yeah,
actually,
West Mountain Radio has some awesome equipment on them, and there's just so much that they have that I add to my wish list constantly.
Well, I'm looking at the Power to Go box for my car. Actually, excuse me. Actually, I've had an ongoing battle with the alternator in my car when it comes to mobile, and I'm at the point where I'm finally considering. Whenever I have a few dollars extra, putting in just a separate battery, and I would put it in a power, in the Power to Go box. It stores the battery upright. That's less important if you're using the lithium iron phosphate batteries. But if you're using just an old standard, go to AutoZone or Pep Boys or go to battery, one of the battery retailers and buy, a marine cell battery or a car battery to use to charge your radio, you need to make sure you store it upright and store it properly so that you don't have any unpleasant problems later.
Right.
And that box is a great one. I can secure it to the side of the car inside my, I drive a small SUV, so I've got, room in the back to attach it or strap it down. And, I can put it close enough to where my radio is mounted so that I've got short power leads and, I just need to figure out the part about getting the battery charged.
Well, you stick the power gate on the side of it and run a power lead up to your input of your fuse box, and there you go.
Put a switch on it so that I can separate out from the power system when I want to transmit, and away I go.
Yep. All right, so let's take another quick break real fast, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up our Christmas list. So stick around, y'all. We will be right back. Hey, y'all. I'm sure that you've probably seen my signs that I've been making from everything from the call sign and names with the little ham radio tower, the ham radio 360 logo, and a couple other ones that I've done for a couple other hams that listen to my podcast. I just want to say that if you want your very own sign custom made by me, it's super easy. Just let me know what you want on it, what kind of text you want, what kind of image you want, and I'll let you know how much it is, and we'll go from there. If you want just a standard sign like I've been posting on Twitter and on Facebook, you can go to my swag store at everythinghamradio.com/swag store. You can go in there, you type in your call sign and your name, and then choose the option that you want. There's one that's just a custom side that you can send me your graphic, whatever graphic you want. Maybe you have a Facebook avatar like Jeff did. Maybe you want one with the Boy Scouts of America, like I've done before, or pretty much anything else. Just select custom, and the size that basically it'll be a 6-inch by 12-inch sign. You can choose one that has the radio tower, like is in my logo, the Ham Radio 360 logo, or have a one that you can select that has your home state. So maybe you live in Tennessee and you want one that has the shape of Tennessee on it with your name and call sign. I can do that with a little dot where you live at, or you live in Hawaii or California or wherever. Your home state sign, I can do that too. So just select that and click purchase. It's like $20, I believe, right now. I have it on 20% off sale. So make sure you get in on that. That will probably be on through the end of the year, and then it'll go up to full price of $25. So make sure you head on over to everythinghamradio.com/swag store and get that now. Alright, so let's get back to our episode. Hey, we are back for our fourth segment. This is a first for me. Of course, this is going on quite lengthy, a lot longer than I figured, but since we are talking about Christmas, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Real quickly, we're going to talk about some small stuff, stuff that you or your spouse can buy you to stick in your stocking. Everybody's got to have stocking stuffers, so here we go. First off, I mentioned earlier the Pac-10 Mini. This thing is like super duper small. I mean, it literally fits in the palm of your hand, and you can buy two separate versions of it. One of them you need a tuner with, the other one you don't. I think it's like a 9-to-1 Valium and a 40-to-1. Great little thing, great for soda activations and stuff like that. But like Ian said, you have to have, some place to put it to raise it up and stuff. But great little stocking stuffer because it fits right in the bottom, and there you go. Also, a great thing to have for anybody that's going to be working, out in the field or anything like that. One of the constant worries is, how am I going to charge my batteries? And, yes, we have the solar panels and stuff that we can get. But another thing that last year we talked about, we actually gave one of these away. I got it from Gigaparts, and it's what's called a G-Mag. Maybe you remember it if you listen back that far. It's back in like episode somewhere around 25 or something like that. But this is it comes with 6 9mAh rechargeable AA batteries, and it is recharged by salt water. And it's really
that's cool.
Yeah, it really is, and it comes with I think it's like 2 packages or something like that of this saltwater solution or something like that, and you put water in the base of it, and then you add a saltwater solution basically to it, and it'll recharge the batteries from the salt water. And it only works like 25 times or something like that is all it'll do. But still, I mean, it's great for an emergency situation where you don't have power. You can recharge your AA batteries and put another set in the charger, add some salt water to it, and it'll charge it while you're running down the other ones. So
nice.
Yeah, and it's it's like, I don't know, 2 inches by 3 inches or something like that. Really small, really compact, so it will fit in your stocking stuffer as well.
Ooh.
Hello.
Sorry.
It's all good. He just went.
My dog wants to get involved in amateur radio.
Exactly. And, everybody's got to have a companion.
He's very throaty. I apologize for that.
Next up, everybody's going to have some kind of tools for the Go Pack. Pliers, screwdrivers, What else am I looking for, Ian?
Probably wire cutters.
Yeah, wire.
But I would suggest you can get a set of pliers maybe that have like needle nose that have wire cutters in them, or small lineman pliers that have cutters in them. Wire strippers would be another good one to have. Trying to think what else.
Well, you'll get the idea.
Yeah, some of the mini soldering irons and
like one of those little butane soldering things. That would be a neat little thing for a stocking stuffer. Extra batteries. Some rechargeable 9mAh batteries. Great thing to have. A little cheap multimeter. You can buy one for like $10 off Amazon. How about some?
If you have a near you, a lot of times they'll give them away. You purchase, $10 or whatever, and they throw in there's a little bit of you get what you pay for. But a lot of times, if you have a Harbor Freight nearby, you'll see either free or really, really inexpensive multimeters, that they've got available.
And a lot of times, when you're in the field or something like that, you really don't need something that's absolutely, to the 100th of a volt or something like that.
Right. Good. Good enough is just that. Good enough. You don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough, kind of thing when you're in the field sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll throw in, some other stocking stuffers, kits. All kinds of kits available for things that are and kits can be tiny. I built, for example, a 210 Tunas 2 transmitter from QRP Me, and it's the whole kit comes literally in a tuna can, and I mean you could drop that in a stocking easily. It's the size of a hockey puck or a little bit smaller hockey puck, or for people that like to build kits. You can get some great little QRP kits from there are all kinds of different vendors out there. A few of the ones that I found while I was looking around are QRP Labs. Hans Summers does a lot of work, and he's mentioned in several other podcasts. QRP Me, the 4-state QRP group, the North Georgia QRP Club, all a bunch of QRP focused organizations, but they all have these neat little kits that you can build, and they are mostly through hole, so there's not a lot of surface mount, and good for people that are learning to solder, or people that don't feel like they can solder surface mount, or people that are maybe a little older, maybe their eyesight's not quite as good.
Heck, I'm younger. I'm young according to you, and my eyesight's really bad. So.
Dude, I'm blind as a bat. If you could see my glasses, you'd go running off into the night.
Even like the BitX 40 that George and Jeremy and them are putting together over on the Workbench podcast.
Yeah, Farhan. I can't think of Farhan's last name, but he's out in India. Yeah.
So, how about some connectors? Some in connectors, some SO2 or what is that? PL259.
Well, the male is the PL259, the female is the SO239, and you need both of them.
Yeah.
So.
Those
or bulkhead connectors, or spade lugs or ring lugs for if you're building radials out under your pack 10 Mini.
Yeah. Some power poles.
Yeah.
Anderson power poles, stuff like that. Adapters. You always need a.
These days.
Yeah. You always need a some kind of adapter, whether you're going from like a SO230 or SO239 to a SMA or something like that.
Absolutely, that's a serious adapter.
So,
but absolutely, all great stuff.
And some small and cheap.
Some of the nifty mini manuals. You can get little small logbooks that, like, I've got the ARRL's mobile logbook that I keep in my center console in my car. So, for people that, if you know somebody that does a lot of mobile or a lot of portable operation, the logbook might be a nice stocking stuffer.
All right.
All kinds of everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you can probably get a couple stockings filled up. So you might ask your wife to get you an extra stocking this year. At least if you've been good, you might end up with 2 stockings worth of coal. But
Or in the case of the ham, 2 stockings worth of old dried up capacitors and burned out resistors.
Coal.
Right.
All right. So next on my list, how about some books? If you like to read or you want to learn stuff, books are a great way to do it. You can buy either like the hardback or paperback type things, or you can go the cheap route if you don't mind reading on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android or whatever. Go through Amazon, get the Kindle version. Couple of them that I found while I was looking around that I'm interested in buying and actually added to my wish list on Amazon. The Ham Shack Raspberry Pi. How to use your Raspberry Pi in amateur radio activities. We talked a couple episodes back, we talked about our Arduino products that is published by the ARRL. This one's for a Raspberry Pi. And the Kindle version is $3.03. You can't beat that. The hardcover, if you want an actual hardcover.
That's less than lunch.
Yeah. Or a cup of coffee.
Depending on where you get your coffee. Yeah.
Okay, a cup of Starbucks. The hardcover is $23.97, so less than $25 for the hardcover, and you can have it sitting on your shelf.
And that's still a good price.
Yeah, it really is.
If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get free 2-day shipping.
Yeah, and you can even get the I don't know what it's called. It's an Amazon program where you can actually like rent the books or something. And I think each one of these are in that program. It's like 20,000 books you can download and read and stuff like that for free, and then keep it for 2 weeks and send it back, or download it if you want to read something about it and send it back or something like that until you need it the next time. The Aries Field Resource Manual is a really neat little book. You can get the Kindle version for just shy of $8. Or a spiral bound one for just shy of 13. So that's a really neat thing to have. It has all kinds of templates and stuff that you can use, stuff to help you organize your local Aries team, a whole bunch of information about Aries. I found one. It's called "Getting Back into Amateur Radio: What's New and What You Forgot." Talking earlier when we first started this episode, talking about the things that you forget when you are in this hobby over the lifespan of your amateur radio career, so to speak. There is a lot of stuff you forget. And if you leave the hobby for whatever reason and you come back into it, you don't want to be lost. So, I read the introduction to this, the first few pages of it, online, and it's got some interesting information in it, I think. I don't know what the whole thing is about, but it's got some interesting information. And the Kindle version's $5, and the paperback version is $12. So might have some good information and good reading that you can get on there. So check those books out. Ian, do you know of any books that you might recommend?
Well, I would say that there are some. These aren't stocking stuffers. These are wrap them up and stick them under the tree kind of books. Mm-hmm. But the ARRL handbook, the new edition is available, and the league is touting it as all new with several new sections in it for this year, for 2018. And the ARRL antenna book are classic references that every ham should have on their shelf if they don't already have them. And the league is coming out with a lot of new, good, really useful books. They've got the new one on RFI and grounding that looks to, I'm working my way through that right now. Looks to be really good. I'm reading their book on propagation, RF propagation, and of course I should know all the titles, but I don't have them with me.
But they will be in the show notes of today's episode, so
yeah,
check
sorry,
that out.
Curtis. If I'd been a little more on the ball about this, I'd have thought about looking through the bookshelf there. They've got one on space weather, I think. I'm trying to think what I've got either on my nightstand or in my backpack that I'm reading these days. They're coming up with a lot of. I'm a big fan of the ARRL library because there's some good basic stuff and there's some good more advanced reading in among their titles. Those are the big ones that I would go for: is the ARRL handbook and the antenna book. The classic references, the ones every ham should have, and some good light bedside reading for you if you like. The ARRL handbook is a lot of it's been touted that a lot of engineering programs use that as an introductory electrical engineering textbook. So it's I've had let's see, I bought the 2017 book at the end of 2016. Swore I was going to read it last year, and
you still got 2 months.
Not doing so well on that particular New Year's resolution.
you still have 2 months left of this year. You can finish it this year.
Sure. I've been reading it for a year and a half, and I'm still on chapter 2.
So is that one of those books that you read a page and fall asleep halfway through it?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, don't read it in bed.
But these books as references, these are the classic beginning references for hams. So every ham should have a version of each of these books.
Right.
I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so next on our list, we've got a couple left here, y'all. Thanks for hanging around with us. Here we are, pretty much passing the 2-hour mark, I believe. Real quick, the antennas. You have the Pactina Mini that I mentioned earlier.
Buddy poles.
Yeah, buddy poles are great. Arrow antennas have a great a Yagi antenna. The
satellite Arrow is known for their satellite antennas. The little handheld 2-meter 70-centimeter cross polarized antennas.
Right. The antenna that I use here in my shack is a Arrow 2-meter 440 J-pole, all aluminum construction. You put it, you screw it together, and everyone that I've seen, you screw it together, you tighten it down, check the SWRs, and it's flat. So, they're greatly engineered, just great antennas, and they're like $40, I think.
Yeah, Arrow has a great reputation for the quality of their antennas.
You got your for mag mounts and stuff. You got your MFJ antennas, your diamond antennas. Comets make some great antennas. I would say if you have the ability to go with the half wave or 5/8 wave on 2 meters, if at all possible. Stay away from the glass mount ones, the little quarter wave ones, because basically both of those are basically just your rubber duck equivalent. Try and go with something that has a little bit of gain and not a loss. So,
and I've heard mixed on the little Hershey Kiss style antennas that you can just like for cars that have XM, the little, that style of antenna. Yeah. Some people love them. Some people, not so much. And these are all, we're all talking about like VHF, UHF antennas. So right. for the mobile rigs that we were talking about earlier, or for your shack, for your 2 meters or 70 centimeters in your shack.
Of course, and then you got, if you're doing mobile HF, you have your the screwdriver antennas. A really neat, really nice antenna. My dad has one that he uses on his mobile radio. You press a button, you hit the auto tune, and it tunes automatically for you. So great little antenna. I think it cost a pretty penny, but still a great little antenna.
I've got the one made by Tar Heel, and I've got the smaller version. It's like $300. So, but
you
it's
get what you pay
small,
for,
and it's. Well, it's small, and it's on a just a standard lip mount on my SUV. So,
okay. So last on our list, Real quickly, Ian, how about some rotor controllers?
Rotor controllers. So, for those of us that may have older antenna rotors, I've got my HF antenna for the high bands is a 5-band hex beam, and it sits on top of a Yaesu G450A, which is a great workhorse rotator, light duty. It's a workhorse. It's a light duty rotator, but the rotor controller isn't computer controllable. So if you're using Ham Radio Deluxe, or if you're using DX Lab Suite, or any of the other software, or if you're just doing, if you like to work the birds, and your antenna rotor isn't computer controllable, you need to reach over and push the buttons on your rotor to make sure on your rotor controller to make sure you turn it. So the couple of rotor controllers that I threw in here replace stock factory rotor controllers with computer controllable, so you can click on a spot and it'll automatically rotate your antenna for you. So High Gain makes a line of these for the Yaesu antennas, and obviously on these the prices vary based on the model of the antenna you're replacing the controller on, and I would check with your local vendor or your maybe not so local vendor, and you pick up the phone and make a phone call and talk to somebody that's knowledgeable when you're going to order one of these. The other company that I know about that makes replacement rotor controllers is Green Heron Engineering. Very good, very high quality controllers. So the High Gain controller for the Yaesu starts around $340. The Green Heron base price is $569. So a little bit of difference there in price, but if you want the ability, like I hope to have someday, of being able to double click on a spot on a cluster and my antenna goes there and I don't have to worry about it, without breaking the bank buying a new high-end antenna that the rotor controller already comes computer controllable, these are my options. Mm-hmm. So those are just kind of the last things I threw on the list just for because I'd really like to have the High Gain rotor controller for the Yaesu. Just me personally.
So if anybody wants to buy you something, that's what they can buy you.
Yes, for the G450A, please.
Well, that brings us to the end of our list. I hope that we talked about something that you might like, something that you might need. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff out there that we could have touched on, but we didn't. So what we got is what we got. If you have an idea about something that you might put on a Christmas list, leave it in the comments on Facebook or on the show notes, and tell everybody else what your Christmas wish list is. One thing I do want to mention before we go about MTC Radio, especially this month, I'm sure that you've heard about Black Friday. Everybody knows about Black Friday. Day after Thanksgiving, the worst shopping day ever. The best shopping day ever.
It's the day to stay away from the malls.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, MTC Radio has taken it a bunch of steps more. They're doing Black November. And every day of November, they send out an email to their email list with deals on equipment that they have, and a lot of them are just a 24-hour sale, or until supplies last, whichever comes first. And they've got some great deals on some radios, some commercial stuff, some like body cam stuff, some a whole bunch of stuff that they have on there. So if you're on their email list, you already know about all this. But if you're not, if you go to mtcradio.com, their sign-up form for their email list is on the left side, about halfway down the page or so. Put your name and your email on there and click submit, and you'll get on their email list, and you'll get these daily sale emails, basically.
I signed up yesterday, as a matter of fact.
There you go. The last thing that MTC Radio is doing that I wanted to make everybody aware of, if you're not already, they are doing their Let It Snow deal again this year. Now, if you don't know what this is, I believe it was last year they did this. They lucked out. Everybody else didn't. This year might be a different story. Farmer's Almanac is saying we're supposed to have a wetter and colder winter this year than normal. But what it is if Paris, Texas gets 1 inch of snow or more on Christmas Day, any product that you buy between November 2nd and December 8th will be free. They will refund your purchase price minus any taxes or shipping that they did with it. But so if you go right now and you buy you a $2,000 radio and it snows on Christmas, you get that $2,000 back. Is it a gamble? Yeah.
Is it likely to snow in Paris, Texas on December 25th? I actually, before I signed up for the email list, because this was kind of the impetus, I actually looked at where it is on a map, and it looks like it's up near the Oklahoma, it's on the Oklahoma, Texas-Oklahoma border, like north of where you are. So, it looks to me like the possibility of snow is greater than remote.
It's like, maybe a 10-15% chance that it would.
Yeah. Well, that's greater than remote.
Yeah. I think I've had, of my 38 years?
38?
Yeah. I think I've had snow on Christmas here in just south of Fort Worth 3 times in my life.
Oh, so it's pop? That's 10%?
Yeah.
No.
So...
a little less than 10%.
And they're further north. They're a good, good 100, 120 miles north of where I live at. So they get snow a lot more than we do. So it is possible. Is it likely?
Probably not.
Probably not. But
it's a fun promotional.
Yeah, and there's a chance that you can get a $2,000 HF radio for free. So if you're going to go out and buy a $2,000 HF radio, why not buy it from NTC and possibly get it free?
So the note to all the listeners out there is have your loved ones that are going to buy you all the holiday gifts that we talked about for the last 2.5 hours from MTC and do it before December 8th.
Exactly. Then they might get their money back.
Everybody could be having a white and green Christmas.
Now, I will say there is a small disclaimer on there. They did purchase a insurance policy in the 6-digit range from what I read, so that if it does by chance snow on Christmas Day and they have to refund this money, it won't put them out of business. But
that's good.
Yeah, but if they get over that insurance policy, they reserve the right to not take any more purchases that will qualify for this refund. So if they get, if they're insured for $250,000 or something like that, at $250,001, your purchase will be included. So,
and they also say that it must be snow, not winter precipitation, not ice, not sleet, not hail, snow.
Yeah, but it does do it. I mean, if you go on their website, there is a picture of them with I think Gordo actually holding a ball of snow.
Yeah.
So it does happen.
And again, it's a fun little promotional.
Yeah. And there's that slight possibility that you get your equipment for free. So there you go. There you have it.
All right.
Well, Ian, thank you for coming on and being my guest co-host for this episode. Hopefully we will get to do it again.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So I guess.
And I hope so too.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have fun when you come on. I really enjoy.
Oh, well, thank you.
I really enjoy coming on. So, again, you can find the show notes of today's episode with everything that we've talked about, and the things that we don't have on there right now will be on there, I promise. Ian and I are going to both work really hard to get everything that we talked about on the show notes. You can find those at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/91. That's the number 91. Again, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/everythinghamradio, or the page at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. The YouTube video will be up, and that is at youtube.com/everythinghamradio. And I am on Twitter at K5CLM, which is probably the easiest place for you to get a hold of me if you need to. Of course, my email is just my call sign at everythinghamradio, K5CLM at everythinghamradio. Please feel free to shoot me an email. And once again, congratulations to Eric and Pat for passing your technician and technician in general class licenses. Welcome to the hobby. And
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I guess that pretty much wraps it up. So Ian, is there any final words that you want to say to everybody?
Have a great holiday season. Remember your veterans this weekend, please. And if you can make it to Atlanta Saturday, I know Thursday when this drops might be a little short notice, but if you can make it to Atlanta on Saturday, go to hamjam.info for all the details on where HamJam will be and what the raffle prizes are. It will be, I promise you, it will be interesting programming, and you will enjoy listening to the speakers, and you will enjoy the opportunity to win some great prizes, all while supporting youth in amateur radio and youth in STEM activities. Other than that, have a great Thanksgiving, because that comes before Christmas. So if you're traveling, be safe. Enjoy the time with friends and family and loved ones, and remember, family first.
And the next episode will actually be on Thanksgiving Day, so you can eat your turkey and your dressing, sit back and watch the Cowboys, or whatever other team is playing that day, and follow it up with listening to this podcast. Or maybe listen to it while you're driving to your Black Friday sale or something like that. So
there you go.
So happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will talk to you next time. So until then, this is K5CLM and
KM4IK
signing out.
73.
73, y'all.